paper crafters, thank you so much for joining me today. I love that you took the time to pop by my channel, check out the video that I've got going, and hopefully stay and poke around a little bit. I'm really excited to be able to offer some videos now and then and share my love of paper crafting. So I hope you find something that you enjoy and come back to see me another time. Bye-bye. Hey paper crafting friends, thanks for joining me today and welcome to the March 2021 Kiwi Club collaboration videos. So if you are seeing mine first, don't forget to pop in to the description on my video and follow the links to the other videos that are part of the collaboration. I know we have at least 2 other ladies participating this month and you're gonna love what they've got for you. So I wanted to share right away, I'm gonna be working with this Grow Where You Are Planted kit. If you saw my unboxing video, you'll be happy to know my doily and my templates arrived within just a couple of days. So thanks to Kiwi Lane for getting those out to me right away. You know, nothing is perfect, guys, and companies make mistakes now and then, shipping things happen, but I will tell you that Kiwi fixes things as fast as they can. So, all right, so here's the back side of this kit. If you haven't seen it yet, it's kind of a great way to see all the papers and colors that are featured and the templates that you're gonna get to play with. These are the ones that are included for the month. And then these are ones that are featured pretty heavily in the ideas to inspire they provide each month. So these are great sets to add on if that's something that you're interested in having for your collection. The palette that I'm going to play with today is pretty heavily into these greens and golds. And I'm going to do something I don't always do, and I'm actually going to put pictures on in my process today. So I've got a journaling card. It says I'm lucky to have, and then this just sentiment card for an embellishment that says Grow Wild. I'm going to do a quick scan through these photos so you can see what I'm working with. I still have some paring down to do, but you'll see why this kit is going to be perfect. We took a trip to the Redwoods. I live in a rural part of Oregon, and we have redwoods pretty close by, within an hour or so. So if you look at the colors in these pictures, there's so much green, gold, brown that I just really think that this paper kit is going to be amazing. And between my son growing like wild and then pictures like this, hopefully you can see that well, I just think that that theme is going to go smashingly well together. So take a quick peek. So here we go. I'm going to start figuring out what I want to do, and I will pop back on and show you the basic layout that we're going to play with today. So this is where I'm at for right now. I went ahead and subbed in just some solid cardstock that I had for the background, because I was originally thinking that I was going to be laying it out on these 2 sheets that came in the kit, which I absolutely love. But as always, I love to save this really beautiful textured paper. I'm sorry, the paper's not textured, but it's got a kind of a texture design on it. I love to save these for other projects, for borders and for making embellishments, and I don't often use them as a background. So just a solid background for this one. I've pulled in 4 4x6 photos, and they're all kind of oriented different ways to give me some flexibility. And then I've got 2 3x4 mats here, and I just kind of liked this layout to fill the center of the page. As far as the borders, I pulled out Aspen Court. I was thinking that it looked like the curve on Aspen Court 3A and 3B. It looked like it was really close to the curve on this a la carte vine that came in this month's kit, and it is super close. The only difference is going to be a little corner spot right here where the Aspen Court doesn't come down quite as tight, and I can easily modify that to have this vine run right along the top edge of that border. Okay, So I will do that on this side and on this side. If I come up with any great cutting tips on that, I will share, because I know I've heard some people say, holy smokes, that's not going to be fun to cut. So I'll see if I have any tips for you. And then this is just here to remind me that I probably want to do, a strip of a different paper color here. Okay. Then I pulled in a few embellishments. This circle here is just representing this tag that I want to use that says Grow Wild. And then I think I'll have some greenery, sticking out around that. So I pulled out this fern, a la carte. Up here I'm going to use the I'm lucky to have. And I want to journal something about my family, my son, the opportunity to get out into the woods that we have. So I thought that this little together a la carte might be fun to pop in there as well. Just kind of reflective of how fortunate I am to have family to hang out with and have those experiences. This a la carte clover came in this month's kit. Goes well with this idea of I'm lucky to have. There's lots of beautiful clover out in these woods, and I may be able to incorporate that in some of the pictures. So I want to pull that in. This a la carte house plant, I am not positive exactly where I'm going to use this, but it definitely could go in several places just to increase the, kind of wild feel of this. And then I also have this a la carte sprig and this She Loves Me. This one I pulled out, I'll show you, because it's similar. If you look at this Grow Wild tag, there's a flower here, and this one just kind of reminds me of it. So if I decide that I want to pull in a little bit more floral, then this would be a template that I would go to for that idea. So I've got all of the tools and pieces I need to get started. I'm going to choose a few photos to feature and start making some paper choices, and I will pop on and share as I get going through that. I wanted to take a second just to show you a quick tip with the photo mats. I know a lot of you see me design with them all the time, and I do use them to help me figure out how I'm going to put photos on a layout and how I want the spacing to feel. But I also use them when I'm trying to decide what size I want a photo to be. So sometimes it's hard. You look at a picture like these, and they could definitely stay a 4x6. Okay, so you're trying to decide, do I want to keep it a 4x6 or do I want to do something else? These photo mats are just see-through enough that you can put them right over top of your photo if you haven't done that before. And you can see through it to see if you're going to be able to capture the part of the photo that really means the most to you. And sometimes cutting something down eliminates some of that extra that is distracting from the photo. So just remember that you can see through these and just kind of see, are you going to be able to get that focal point that you want? Is that going to work? So just another way to use these as you're creating. For this layout, I know that I want 2 of these a la carte vines, and I want to do them on this green paper. So what I was looking at when I went to trace this is I could definitely do it super close to the edge, and I'd have just kind of some random scrap left. Then I thought it would actually be really cool to have this left and be kind of a border size. So I am going to trace it on the back of this because I think I'll be able to see it a little bit better. So remember, anytime you're turning your paper over, you also want to turn your template over. And I am going to scoot this up enough that I am going to end up with this size piece left, okay? That is going to give me the opportunity to use that as a border piece, which I think is really cool. I could use either the yellow side or I could use the green side, but it's going to leave me with a usable scrap. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get these traced, and then I'll pop on and show you what that looks like. So after tracing, this is what it looks like. I went ahead and put both of the vines really close to each other, okay, so that there will be some scraps, of course, that are going to end up in the garbage, but this bottom piece now is about the size that I could use it to come up behind like this aspen court border. It also is actually the perfect shape to go behind streamers. So let me show you this. So the curve on the vine is actually perfect for streamers. So I could have that piece popping out behind the streamers. I'll show you what I mean in just a second. But I did use the aspen cord as kind of my measuring tool, just so I'd have enough space. Went ahead and made a little notch here so that I can do a straight cut. I'm still going to have a significant piece of this paper left to work with, but it'll give me a couple of really nice usable scraps plus my 2 vines. So let me get those cut out and I'll pop on and show you how that turned out and what it would look like layered with something else. All right, so I got these all cut out. Cutting tip wise, my biggest thing would be make sure you've got a scissor that has a short enough blade that you've got some really good control. Make sure that you're holding onto your paper really well with one hand, okay? And as you're cutting, just be turning and manipulating both your paper and your scissors. It took me about 5 minutes, I would say, to get everything cut out. You know, you do have both sides of the vines, so it is a little bit time consuming, but it's not awful. So the way that I traced that, I ended up with this piece left. So that's about a 6 by 12. So I'm happy about that. I've got my 2 vines ready for this project. And then I ended up with these 2 pieces that could do something like just the way they are, be a border that's just got some kind of fun texture on it. They could also layer with something like aspen court where they're coming up behind, okay, with a printed paper on top. Or they could do something similar on a template like streamers where they're coming out behind that. For some reason, that to me looks a little bit odd. I'm not sure that I would do it that way. I kind of like them, honestly, just as a border accent all by themselves. They just create a neat look. So I'm happy that I have them. I could also use the yellow side. It wouldn't make any difference. They could go either way. So I've got some flexible scraps there that made it worth that extra cutting because I can also use my scraps. So just an idea as you think about using that vine that hopefully will help you stretch your things a little bit and maximize your labor. All right, I hope you're ready to see this come together. I got everything cut and inked and we are ready to roll. So let's start by getting these border pieces out. Absolutely love this floral border. This paper is really pretty. It's a really nice green on the back, but I don't know that I'll get into that green because I just love the floral on it. I chose the paper with the scallops on it. It almost looks like waves, but just really a lovely bright accompaniment to this border. And then of course I used this green that you saw me working with. It's yellow on the back, and this is going to be the vine. So I just wanted to show you real quick on here. If you look at how this lines up, okay, very close along the edge of the aspen, on the edge of aspen court until you get to the ends. So there is a little bit at each end that you can trim if you don't want that to show. It's not a huge deal, but I would just do a quick trim there and a quick trim at this end if you don't want any of that border poking out beyond the vine. Okay, so that was my choice on how to handle that. And as much as I love these 2 pieces, I did feel like they needed a little bit of separation. So I just pulled in just a strip of brown ribbon, and I'll run that through my Xyron and use that to stick that together. So I like how those pieces all came together. Let's go ahead and get this side put together. Okay, again, I'll end up doing just a quick slight trim on here. I'll go ahead and do that off camera. You don't really need to see me do it again. And just that strip of ribbon to seal the area in between those two patterns. Okay, let me show you the pictures that I chose. This was a family outing. I just have one kiddo left at home. That's my son Ryan. But we had a lot of fun. Really beautiful day. We actually went to the redwoods, and when we left the redwoods, we went to the coast. Kind of a beautiful part of this part of Oregon. Okay, so I've got the 4 4x6s and the 2 3x4s. I have not made up my mind if I'm going to back them. I honestly don't feel like I need to this time, which is super rare for me, but they're really popping on this kind of gold background. And I think that there's enough contrast that they don't necessarily need a matte. So I may just leave them as they are. Okay. Over here, I talked about a little cluster using this Grow Wild. So I did go ahead and cut that into a circle. I have tiny shapes, and I will tell you that one of the circles was a little small. The other one was a little bit big. So I went ahead and traced the larger one and then just cut inside of it a bit. For this fern piece, I had some scrap from some fall paper that I ended up cutting a couple of little brown pieces for this. And then I used one of the sentiment cards from the kit. It was this one. I didn't want to tear into another piece of the green 12 by 12, but this had a really lovely green on the back that I used to cut a piece of that fern. So I'll probably do something like that. I also used that brown scrap to create a couple of these little leaf clusters. So this is that new template that came in the kit that's called Houseplant, but it really creates just a nice little sprig. So I went ahead and used that. Once I was done, I decided I wanted to work in some green. So I did go ahead and trace and cut it with the back side, the same piece I used for this fern. I cut it once, but I just cut it in half to just be able to incorporate a little bit of green on here. And I think that actually looks really good, just using a piece of it. Okay. Let's see, we've got this. I'm lucky to have sentiment card, and I was imagining it somewhere up here. And I used more of that green to create this clover. So I'll probably have that kind of touching the sentiment card and touching the photo, something like that. And I wanted to do the little together template that looks like this. So I decided to use one of the sheets that has just a really nice light blue. Coordinates well with the flowers on the page and just brings that blue in a tiny bit. So I'm going to use that together template just kind of off in the corner of that, so I can do a little bit of journaling and talk about our day together. But I needed to carry that blue somewhere else. So I went ahead and brought that in on this flower that I'm thinking I'm just going to put kind of here. So it's bumping into the vine, but also touching that photo and kind of anchoring everything together. Something like that. I created a couple more just little pieces of this house plant in brown that I'm thinking I want somewhere over here around this clover. I don't know, I just felt like I needed a little touch of brown over here. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to do that without it looking bizarre. I'll need to play with that part a little bit. And then on one of the sentiment cards, there are these circles that you could use as a flower center or something like that. So I did cut one out. I made it a little bit smaller than it is. I tried this as something on the clover, and I didn't like that. I tried it on the flower, and it felt too big. I ended up deciding just to go ahead and cut it apart and give a little splash of blue just by tucking it underneath the top of that photo and the bottom of this one. Okay, that was just a little touch that I decided to add. So this has got all of the pieces kind of ready to go. What I need to do next is just go ahead and start doing my taping down and deciding what things I want to go ahead and elevate. I will pop up certain things, like probably this Grow Wild. I'll probably pop up this flower, maybe the green layer on these clusters, probably this little together template and this clover. So some things will have just a slight raise with some foam tape. But this was my layout for this collaboration. I hope that you enjoyed watching it and you got some tips for your own creations along the way. Don't forget to click on the links in my description box, and also leave a comment on each of the projects that you visit so that you can be entered into the drawing for this month. So thanks again for joining us, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.